Hey every pony, New Leaf here, and today is the big day where I can show you ponies the report of my adventures at Hearth every pony, so relax as I tell you this wonderful and amazing story of my adventures in the Netherlands. Well every pony, our journey started with a very long travel through this wonderful sugar-coated snowy land every pony. It was really beautiful to drive through, but also really cold. But eventually we did get to arrive in the Netherlands, and look at this, we were given a whole house to stay in every pony, and I got to share this with like 5 other ponies, and it was really fun because it allowed for many activities and fun to be had together. It was awesome. The beds were also super cozy, but take a closer look at this picture. There is a tiny bump in the ceiling. I didn't know who woke up there, maybe it was a unicorn or bumped their head, but that looked like some pony had a very painful morning. And just like always, there was a day where we got to meet other ponies and eat together with them, which was really interesting. And this place is actually a fort from a previous war every pony, which is I guess an interesting fact to note. But even though it was rainy outside, the inside was super cozy and warm every pony, and it looked really bright and vibrant. And I was wondering, what kind of food would they be serving here? And we were given Indonesian food. I had no idea what I was getting myself into and thought it was too spicy, but it was actually kind of amazing. It had so many flavors and textures, and I really liked it. And I guess I am a pony who likes some really good and high quality food, and I was very satisfied. And as you see, everyone else is also having a great time eating their food, someone in the back even drinking cider, which I had plenty later. And of course, talking with one another was a pleasant experience because they all had wonderful stories to tell as to why they came to the convention and their experience about the Netherlands. It was absolutely sweet. Speaking of sweets, every pony, after our main course there was a dessert, and you could choose if you wanted to have a chocolate cake, or you could have this stuff which is known as chocolate mousse every pony, which is light and fluffy chocolate. But if you know anything about me, you'll know that I chose both of them every pony because I love sweets, and I guess I went for seconds too. You can't stop an alicorn when he's hungry for sweets. So with a very full tummy, we had it back. But every pony, my housemates immediately challenged me to a sing-off because I told them I do karaoke and it goes kinda well, and they were like, prove it. And you know what? If you've been watching my karaoke videos, you'll know that I'm not exactly very easy to beat, every pony. I was the Rainbow Dash there, and as you can see, some of the other ponies were really good at singing too, but I guess it was just a teensy bit better, and well, after a very large winning streak on my end, we did eventually decide to go to bed, and we needed to, because we needed to take care of the convention, every pony. You see, this is what it looked like when ponies were setting up, and for those of you who've never been behind the scenes, it takes quite a while. You see in the back there is a bunch of boxes being unwrapped. Near the front to the right you have some vendors setting up shop. It is pretty interesting to see all of it come together, and I guess an interesting peek for those of you who've never seen what happens before a convention actually opens doors. And not before long, people were starting to pile up near the doors and getting in line, and you see towards the front you have the people in the blue, and that's like the ticket booth area, and they were ready to face the storm and check everyone's tickets, every pony. They did an amazing job, seriously. And after everyone got in, we got to welcome everyone at Hearth 2020. People were starting to sit down and getting ready to see what kind of activities there was this time, and there were quite a few interesting ones I'll be touching on later. But every pony, not only are there like regular visitors, but you also have other conventions that like to, you know, say, hey, we're a convention too, and we are here, and maybe you want to visit us sometime in the future. And you have Brony Scott, UK PonyCon, and Galacon, which I've been to, every pony, if you've seen the video. But every pony will go to one of these conventions very soon. But you're gonna have to stick around to the end to find out which one that may be. And we got to see fellow equestrians there too, but even Queen Chrysalis herself made it down here. I don't know what she was up to, but I really didn't trust her. I felt like she was gonna change into a con-goer and all. But there were also more friendly creatures like Ember here, who had a blast every pony, and she really enjoyed going about the convention and challenging people to, I guess, hugs? And there was this pony who is a very familiar face from Galacon every pony, and of course every pony, I gave every one of these cosplayers a hug every pony. It was amazing, and I keep telling you, and it is true, It's the softest thing you'll ever get to hug, every pony, trust me. Now over here we have a very peculiar object, every pony. Some humans said this was called a ball pit, but I'm not so sure. Others state that it was actually a portal, and it gets worse because there were actually people coming out of this ball pit at unsuspecting times, and they must have been in there for a very, very long time. No pony really knows what it's, doing there or why this ball pit is here, but I think it was, a little mysterious to say the least. But on the topic of seeing mystical things, every pony, I wanted to, see if there's some activities for me, and there was a workshop about 3D paper crafting, every pony, as the sign says there. I had no clue what that means, so I just decided to give it a go and see what would come of it, every pony. And everything started by getting a frame for a picture, and you had to take it apart, and there's a white envelope that came with it, and that had basically everything you needed. Then you had to take everything apart. There is parts of the glass from the frame, there is the actual wooden frame, and of course you had to open the envelope where there is a bunch of small parts, every pony. You see the little orange hooves and the green tail. And everything starts in this sort of craft, I guess if you want to call it, by taking the little glass part from the frame and putting paper on there and start gluing things on top of another. It's basically like Photoshop, but in real life and with paper. And then, layer by layer, you would start making your own pony. And you see some of these parts, like the front hooves and the ear, are levitated above the plane that you've been gluing on before, and that is done by using double-sided tape, which is actually very thick, so you can achieve the shadow effect, which is where the three-dimensionality of this craft comes into play. And the same is done for the background. In this case, it was a moon surface, and since Ember's brother was inside of a spacesuit, eventually he got put onto the moon. But this does raise a very important question, being what did Glaze exactly do to be sent to the moon? Anyway, every pony, after you put everything together, the layers, and you put the picture frame together as well, it looks something like this. And for someone who's horrible at crafting stuff with his hooves, I think this didn't turn out too horribly at all. And I guess it was partially because we had some pony who was really good at instructing others, and it was, I guess, really good for even new ponies to this kind of stuff to follow along well, so massive props to them. Also, look at this wonderful drawing of myself that an artist named Aluria put into the con book. It looks really amazing, so massive props to them too. So next, let's take a look at some of the permanent things that you could do there, like things that were there the entire time. This was called the plushie pound. It was like a plushie trade, so you could bring a plushie to the table and you would get one in return. Look at all these. But every pony, unfortunately, I didn't bring all of my plushies. I only brought my plush Twilight, and I really, really like that one, so there is no chance it was getting away from me anytime soon. Then over here we have Torben, who has a massive, massive stand with so many things. Look at that, there's some blankets to the left, but we'll get closer to inspect some of the other things. Look at this, I think there is glasses cleaning towels to the bottom. To the left you have little keychain things, and to the right that seems to be coasters for cider and all. And further down the line we have round coasters, we have keychains, and I think that's a pillow and blankets inside of that bag as well. Then I went further down the alleys of the convention and found other very, very interesting vendors. This is a plushie maker, every pony, and you know I'm looking for some pony to make my plushie. But take a look at the stand. Look at how small some of these are. It's really spectacular what some people come up with. It's very interesting. But if you wanted to see plushies, the convention even had a panel where everyone who had a plushie could bring their plushie to the stage, or better said, not to the stage, but to some ponies, and they would put it onto the stage, and there would be a huge gathering of plushies. It's not as big as the one at Galacon, but it is still pretty massive. Also, look at that pony with the black hoodie, every pony. That's a good friend of mine. Hello, Cobalt. Let's get a little closer to the stage. So over here to the right side, you have this massive, massive Fluttershy. Look at how huge she is. You have the little speakers in the backgrounds, you have the chairs in the foreground, and she appears massive compared to either of those. I mean, compare that to the ponies to her left, and she takes like what feels like a third of the stage just for herself. Anyway, let's go to the front side. The yellow plushie to the left with the green mane is one whose head he could detach, and I think there is cooled cider inside. I think that was the same plushie from Galacon, but I could be mistaken here. What else is there? Oh yeah, there's a huge Pinkie Pie and a Celestia too. Then to the left there was a few shelves for other ponies, and to the top you have a few Ember plushies, who's the mascot of the convention, as well as, let's see, I think to the left, to the bottom left, you have some Berry Punch, you have some more OCs. I mean, look at the variety of this Every Pony, it is surprising. But Every Pony, of course, this would be totally incomplete if I didn't have a number, and I think it was 230 something plushies, which is still an astounding amount, and it is, I think, a quarter of Galacon size, but still, look at how many this is. This is very, very much a full stage. And after a very long day of exploring the convention and seeing what there is and working, it was time to party, and there always is a massive dance area, and you know, I love music and singing and dancing, so this was a must visit for me, and there was even a very interesting sign that was made right in front of the convention, so no pony would miss out. So after very many hours of dancing, I was tired and was ready to go to bed, and we needed it, Every Pony, because this convention was still not over by far. And the best way to get started into a day of work is by having an extensive breakfast, Every Pony. There was orange juice, some sandwiches and everything, and me being a very ravenous pony when it comes to hunger, this was perfect for me, Every Pony. With a full tummy, I headed to the first panel of the day, which was an animation panel, Every Pony, and that's something that's always kind of interesting to me, and I guess I maybe want to look into that. Also, look at the pony with the blue shirt. They were some pony I got to work with. His name is Bass, and he was awesome to be around with. The host of the panel, Captain Horse, even gave a few suggestions on programs that you could be using for animations, and I may look into those in the near future and just see what happens. But besides of, you know, animating things, ponies could also draw things right there. There was like a lot of times where if there was like no panel and just free time, there was like paper and pens and you could draw things, and ponies had some really good hoof at drawing, as you can see there. This awesome drawing of Princess Celestia. I got into it a little bit as well and drew this Every Pony on a piece of paper, and then there was like a staff member and they printed this onto a button. And they were really surprised when I managed to land a perfect fit, because I've never had anything to do with buttons or such in my life, and apparently that was either beginner's luck or leaf logic. You decide on that one. Later I went to the main stage where we got to see the end of one of my favorite panels, Every Pony. This is the Dutch Fun panel, and this one requires a little bit of explaining, so you see the guests of honors there on the red stage where there's Black Griffin and Claire Corlett and Bexy on the stage, and they had to do whatever they were told. Behind them is a picture of a Dutch snack that they had to eat, which looks like some chocolate with filled cream of sorts kind of thing. But there were also sort of strange things like fish, I think was one of them. And they had to pronounce Dutch words as well. It was very interesting, but it was also a very fun clash of cultures, if you want to call it that, because a lot of these things were unusual, but at the same time it was fun to see the reactions of the people here who probably didn't have as much to do with the, you know, Dutch food and words and whatnot. But this thing, Every Pony, was something that even I knew about. Apple cider, Every Pony. I've had so much apple cider in my life, but we'll get to that later, Every Pony, trust me. Another interesting panel later this day was the charity auction, Every Pony, where you get to give things away that you want to have auctioned away beforehand, and then this is auctioned off for money, and that money is donated to a good cause. This time it was for a organization that allows children in poorer countries to go to school, Every Pony, so it was really helpful, and at the same time the people who like bid on these things could go away with some amazing merch, so it's basically a win for everyone here. One of my personal highlights that I got to see get auctioned away was this huge banner with both of the mascots, as well as Sweetie Belle and Black Griffin's OC as well. And just to illustrate the size, so you have this Trixie plushie to the top, and you see some VHS tapes at the very top, so this thing was huge. I think it needed 3 people to hold this thing on stage, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Over here we have a table with some of the stuff that was also auctioned away. Here we have an Amber plushie, I think, who ended up being the most valuable auctioned item. I don't remember the exact amount, but I think it was somewhere around 2,000, so Ponies really wanted her. And there you have the hosts, Peridodo in the back and Roderick in the front, and they were the ones who auctioned everything away, and they did an amazing job at getting it done, because it is a very long panel with so many things to auction away, and it's quite a lot of endurance and energy to get through it in one piece. And after the ending, or should I say graduation ceremony, the convention continued, every pony. There was like a cinema event where you could watch the MLP movie and some other panels and even another night for parties, every pony. But I decided to go around and see some of the cosplays we could find. Here we have Spike and Twilight Sparkle, a very interesting one. Then this one is an excellent take on Rarity. Just to name a few highlights, there were many cosplays there, every pony, and it was truly amazing, and you definitely had to be there to enjoy all of it. But eventually, the convention did come to an end. Here's a picture of all the wonderful people who I've gotten to work with. It was absolutely amazing, and we got many amazing feats done that weekend. Here we have another big picture of the convention before, you know, things start to shut down and convention closes and things are cleaned up. But this video would be completely incomplete if I didn't mention one of the highlights that was something that developed over the course of the convention, which was a tribute in a way to the convention, which has been in its 4th installment, and Ponies donated a bunch of things to say farewell to the convention, every pony. It was kind of heartwarming, pun intended, because I've been part of this convention for like 3 issues now, and it meant a lot to me that Pony still had so much love left for this convention after all the time. But there was also a bunch of silly stuff in that pile. Take a look at it. Near the center you see some coupons. To the left side you see some drawing books. It was interesting to see the creativity behind this as well. Then came the moment where staff and volunteers and vendors alike started to deconstruct things. You see boxes being filled with props, you see stands being taken down, and it was an interesting process because you needed a lot of, you know, horsepower to get it done. Everyone worked really hard to get it done in what felt like an hour or 2, but considering how much stuff there was at the convention, you've gotten to see throughout the whole video, it was an amazing feat. So after a dash of time, as it felt like, we were able to consider this convention over and leave, every pony. And now, let's look at the first of a few possible travel destinations for me. The first is going to be Griffish Isles that I've been looking into. It's been one that's been suggested to me by many ponies, and I think it would be an interesting one considering I've never actually been to the British Isles, every pony. Then the next one in the same country would be UK PonyCon, which was suggested to me by the vice chair, I think, and I'm definitely considering going there. Lastly, for those of you who are wondering now, is there never going to be any ponies in the Netherlands? Well, look at this. This is the next Dutch pony convention and pretty much a follow-up to Hearthswarming Con. It's going to be a different organization, as you see, but I believe in them to make something awesome happening. There is going to be ponies forever and no pony can do anything about it. Now for me, every pony, I decided to stay an extra day with some other ponies and do a little, you know, sightseeing, I guess, in many ways, before I had to go that very same day. This is a windmill, every pony, and these are apparently used to grind wheat and such into flour, and flour is amazing for baking cakes, every pony, which are then devoured by none other than myself and Princess Celestia. Speaking of devouring things, every pony, the mascot, Ember, suggested to me that I should try stroopwafels, every pony. This was something I think was also served at the Dutch Fun panel, but these are actually in the supermarket, and you see there are shelves full with them, every pony. You know me, and my appetite. Yeah, let's just say a bunch of shells got cleared that very same day, and everything was transported into a magical dimension so I could later enjoy all of these, every pony. But I also got some apple cider from the Netherlands that I got to share with my housemates, every pony, and I guess I can say I had a very large amount of cider, every pony. Not gonna lie, every pony, I got a little dizzy from all the cider, but it was so worth it. Then I went to a very luxurious restaurant to have some food there, and this is called Fish and Chips, which is, I guess, a fish and some fried potatoes, and it tasted absolutely amazing. And for dessert, every pony, and this time I only had one dessert, I actually held myself in place for once. This is a brownie, not confusing with a brony. This is chocolate cake covered in caramel and chocolate bits and everything, along with vanilla ice cream and whipped cream. It was absolutely delicious, and for a sweet tooth like me, this was perfect. Speaking of perfect things, look at the sunset above the ocean, every pony. It was stunning to even look outside the window. Speaking of which, I had to really leave soon because the portal to Equestria was closing soon and it was out there. But I did at least want to take a good, awesome gaze at the ocean, every pony. It was cold, as you can imagine, but also really, really salty tasting, and I guess I kind of got dared to go into the water, which I eventually did, but no pony speak of that. Then I took a stroll down the beach and got ready to say goodbye to all the humans and ponies who made this weekend truly unforgettable. Then with a few very well-timed flaps of my wings, I took off into the skies, across the ocean, and into the portal back to Equestria. It was truly an amazing journey to be here. And before long, I was back in Equestria, and with that, we are kind of at the end of the video. So I suppose with that, I thank all you lovely ponies so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. And remember, every pony, if you're going to a convention, make sure to make lots of amazing memories and live it to the fullest, every pony. It's an adventure that you're not supposed to forget. Also, if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and you'll be notified whenever there's a new video. And there's new stuff here every single day, including a pony that very, very much enjoys visiting the human world.